kind of a bummer meme for our cold open this time. This one actually comes from not one of the Cosmere subreddits, but from Reddit /r2meirl for meirl. And the meme is a screenshot from Twitter, and the screenshot was dated 2019, so it actually was Twitter still. And the Twitter user Your Jinja Ninja posted, "But it made you stronger. I was a child. I didn't need to be stronger. I needed to be safe." Which, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of, a little real for our podcast, but it also fits with the some of the themes of the book.
I was gonna say that was not
funny at all. No. Like I said, kind of a bummer. Not all memes are funny. I don't know.
Funniness isn't part of the meme definition?
No, I don't know. I'd have to look it up I'd need to Google what the exact definition is, but I know it has to do with references to shared cultural experiences, like screenshots from Twitter.
But
yeah.
Okay, I have so many problems with that, but okay.
Well, hello and welcome to Cosmere Casual, your casual reader's guide for the Cosmere Curious. I'm your co-host and, unable to define meme person, the undefinable Nick Gorman.
I was just going to say a Debbie Downer, but...
Yeah, some days are hard like that. I don't know. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's good times. Sometimes it's not.
And I'm your co-host, AJ Gorman.
Today, we're doing a post-read episode for the short story Shadows for Silence in the Forests of Hell. So, expect a spoiler-full discussion of Shadows for Silence, but not any discussion of other things in the Cosmere, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess,
Which is actually an easy line to make for this.
Yeah, I was about to say, there's not, there's... but we will have stuff to talk about with next time's episode.
Yeah, we will have stuff to talk about, but with some of the other things, it was harder to draw the line. Yeah,
this one's good. So I think my initial reactions to this book, I guess the first thing that I thought was most noteworthy was just Silence as a protagonist. I mean, maybe I'm just sheltered in what books I read, or I only maybe I just read stuff with young adult protagonists or whatever, super white male people. But I don't normally see fantasy stories where the main narrator, the main character is a parent, right? And, a woman, not a young girl, she's a woman. And I just thought that was unique. And I think, Sanderson did a great job, capturing that feeling of the walls are closing in on her. She wants, she doesn't seem like the kind who wants everything for her kids, but she does want them to live a better life than her as the walls start closing in on them, right?
And to have, I think, a more positive relationship with her than what she had with her grandmother.
Yeah. And especially in this read, that,
Oh, wait, I just had a thought. Did we know what happened to her mother?
I think there's a one-liner or something in there. I don't, but they're not, her parents, I thought, died.
Okay.
To the shades. Thought. I could be wrong. But, the way Silence feels towards her grandmother is so complex and nuanced. I think that there's a line that I included in my notes that, really stood out to me. And, she really just captures that feeling the best and really poignant. And it was, "I hate you," Silence said. "Thank you for making me hate you." And I was just like, damn, that hit really hard for me. You're giving me a look. I know we're working on adding video, but this is still,
I don't know.
It's a meaningful look.
Maybe it's because I am also a woman that I just feel like that is life. That I, certainly not to the extent that our character feels it in their life, but life's rough.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, because I thought I don't want her in comparing how Silence raises her kids compared to how Silence was raised, right?
Right.
Silence absolutely does not want William Ann to hate her, right?
Right.
She still wants what's best for her, but Like they have such a different relationship in such a way about, child rearing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
well, I mean, given that the grandmother had already lost a daughter to, or a child or children to shades, I can understand why the response would be, I'm going to teach my granddaughter to be able to combat these shades.
I guess, yeah. Especially that, when Silence is, thank you for making me hate you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she didn't do the same thing for William Ann. She didn't do the same things to William Ann.
No, she didn't.
Right? And, like, it's so complex. It's a challenging thing to read. But, Silence, at the end of this story, she basically makes a full recovery, right? She escaped dying and she didn't become a shade, right?
Silence did, yeah.
Yeah, Silence. But William Ann is permanently disfigured, and she's definitely going to lose her hands and some toes, right?
Right.
And the message I got from it was, almost that Silence could have been harder on William Ann, but it also would have led to different scars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like, yeah.
Thinking about the possibilities of what could have been.
Yeah.
Are you making the right decisions for your children?
Yeah. And like, what, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Or, like.
Think about it every day.
To be fair, they're also in hell, right? So maybe that's part of it, right? But like, you think of, like, yeah. I mean, it's subtle like a sledgehammer to the face, the symbolism in this book.
Yes. I don't know. For this reread, it struck me that I like Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah.
And I like it when he has the space to do what he wants to do.
Interesting. Okay.
And reading it, it oozes the fact that there is so much more to this story, to this world that we're just not seeing.
And we'll probably see more.
So for me, it was almost frustrating to have it be a short story because I wanted to dig deeper.
Did we read the same story? Yes, there's more to the world, but just
the subtlety. There's just the way that comments are made and the subtleties is just like Brandon had so much more in his head that had he made this into a novel instead of a short story, like he would have told the same story from beginning to end.
Yeah, but it wasn't enough of Silence's story to be a full novel, right? Like this was this was it, and this was right.
I don't know.
It'd be like
I think there's
like
more.
A vignette.
Like there would have been like
could have been an interlude.
But Brandon could have done like a bunch of flashbacks.
Yeah. He could have shown more about how Silence's parents, and yeah,
right.
He already had some flashbacks with her grandmother.
Yeah, and dealing with more flashbacks with the grandmother, more flashbacks to like raising.
Could have been more with the white fox.
What was her Anne?
William Ann,
and definitely like a flashback finding Sue. What was her name?
Oh fuck, I forgot the other girl.
Yeah,
I mean they did. He did have that.
Yeah. So he did, but it was just so quick. And, Brandon just is so good with the details that I felt like. I
mean, I love a good short story.
There could have been so much more.
I accept when I just accept it when there's more room in a story than what the author gives us, right? Like there's room to come back and explore more. And that's fine. We just have different preferences. That's fine.
Yeah, I guess I'm just not used to reading short stories, I guess.
Yeah. The other thing that really stuck out in this read to me was how prevalent there is a theme about the government being either evil or incompetent. It's basically just like a libertarian villain.
I mean, the forts, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Right, but the forts are the government, the civilization, kind of like that's what their role is in this world.
I suppose.
Right. They need to cross at Old Bridge because New Bridge is already collapsed. They're always talking down how the fort folk have no common sense. They can't cut it out in the frontier, right? And Theopolis, who is like the only, the really main character. I guess he's
the only fort person that we know that is actually seems capable.
And he's always described in gross terms.
Okay, but
like the
tax man always is.
Right. But I think it's telling that like that's the only real fort folk that we see, right? I guess there's the bounty hunter who, is also dishonorable and, steals from Silence, right?
At the behest of Theopolis.
At the behest of Theopolis, right? But I thought it was like there's like literary significance to Theopolis, always so annoying, always described as so gross. And by the way, at the very end, he tracks mud into the way stop. Ugh. Yeah. So there's a meme that I see on Reddit every now and again about how it's way worse to be, for a fantasy character, it's way worse to be annoying than it is to commit war crimes, right?
Yes.
And, and from that lens, Theopolis is more of a villain because he's got that annoying way of talking rather than, betraying or trying to enslave Silence. Whatever. That betrayal was fictional, but my annoyance is real.
Okay.
Hey. So.
To that point, I also didn't feel that Silence was relatable, but not super. I didn't connect with her as much as I normally connect with some of Brandon's characters.
Oh, interesting. Like, because I was having, a real anxiety time of it, right as I was rereading this. And so I thought the way it is described of her feeling like the walls are closing in on her, like that's not, I don't think he even uses that phrase, but like I just got that mental image and I felt that state that she was in, right?
So it's relatable, but I also didn't feel like there wasn't as much to Silence. Like it was just like Silence was a really good stand-in for us to be there, but I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
It wasn't as much of a character.
You just didn't like her. That's fine.
Not that I didn't like her. It was just there wasn't a whole lot to her besides worry.
Yeah, that's what's so relatable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to talk a little bit about the foreshadowing as well, because I thought some of those were nice.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Like early on in the story, there's a lot of, they're talking about the rumors about the Way Stop or the White Fox. And there were multiple times mentioned that there were rumors about the shade of her dead husband lives here. Uh-huh. And that the shade keeps her safe, right? So that was, even though it was like, oh, yeah, sure, whatever, the White Fox, all these,
Oh, it's not her husband, it's her grandmother.
Right? And her grandmother keeps her safe
but it's
on multiple,
But that's also kind of confusing because the whole story, shades are just these mindless things. And then at the very end, it's, Brandon does a gotcha. Some of these shades
I thought it was
aren't as mindless as you think.
I thought it was maybe I'm thinking of the
because Silence says like her grandmother's shade has never harmed her.
Yes. Because I know in the Chris preface, the in-world essay about Threnody and the shades.
Okay, but now you're getting into Cosmere.
It's about the shades,
okay,
right? And I think it's what she's the one who says, are the shades really alive? Are they really alive? Are they really the same people as that they resemble who died there?
Right.
That's a question for theologians. She moves on. Right. So like I thought it was, there was that seed of doubt planted about whether the shades are they,
if you're reading it from Arcanum Unbounded and have that preface, but if you're reading it through Anthology of Dangerous Women, you won't get that.
That's fair. Yeah, no, there were also a few points where there were mentions of no unwanted shades in the Way Stop, right? And
oh yeah, I did catch that. I was just
unwanted.
Like, there are some wanted.
There's at least one wanted shade, right?
Yeah.
And that was,
there's so much more. I want to know more.
Well, and then to me that was like, it's a way of talking, right? Where it's just like, yeah, we don't want, there's no unwanted pests in the house, and that, when we talk about that doesn't mean that there's a pest that we want in the house. It just means that we're doing a good job keeping them out. Right, but it's a play on our expectations, I think, because when you go back and reread it, and you already know that there is a shade there, it's like, oh, well, you weren't actually lying, you weren't, and I always like that. I always like that, at least in fiction. I like catching it.
It was kind of the classic. Yeah, it's worth a couple of rereads.
Yeah,
classic Brandon.
So I got a few other discussion points, just like speculation kind of deal, like nothing like recapping. What did you read?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is there you ready to move on to that, or was there
Yeah.
anything else? Okay. So at the end, there's talk about Silence rejecting marriage proposal, right? And and also the guy at the bar, it's a shame the White Fox is gone now. But did I tell you about this other Bloody Kent fellow?
Mm-hmm.
The
frame story.
Yeah, the frame story, right? Do we think Silence is also Bloody Kent?
Probably will become it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that our narrator guy is just making stuff up.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, it's like, well, do we think she's going to continue bounty hunting under a new persona, right? Because she got a lot more money because she didn't have to split it with the other.
I think so.
I kind of think so too, but I like the ambiguity there, because on the one hand, she's rejecting marriage proposals. She doesn't want, I'm guessing, there's a line of thinking where it's like she just doesn't want anyone to interrupt her autonomy. She wants to be, her own master now, right?
Right.
But it's also she doesn't want to bring anyone else on for a new double life. I don't know. I thought that was nice.
No, I think it's definitely more the autonomy thing, but
yeah, make me both. I guess the other thing was,
this was violent.
It was violent.
It was uncomfortably violent for me.
Yeah.
Like arrows are one thing, but like someone hitting somebody else's skull with a hammer, that's not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't think it's as bad as like Mistborn, because I don't think it's as bad as some, But speaking of comparing to other works in a non plot related way, so Brandon Sanderson has like a reputation about doing a really great job depicting mental illness in his characters, and I actually
it is the later stuff, not so much of his earlier stuff, but yes.
Right, but I think because I think this was I read Silence as having anxiety, right? And I don't, she's not normally one of the people's like go-to examples, like, of how Brando does a good job depicting, a mental illness or mental disorders.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, it'd be nice to wanted to say, hey, that was pretty great. Where she's got contradictory wants, right? And like she absolutely needs to keep her head down so that way she doesn't become a target as, White Fox, but she also needs to be, to get bigger and bigger bounties to basically be more prominent and more legendary to afford to pay off her debts and keep, and keep the tax collectors happy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought it was, and there's all these, I thought, I could see why she was so anxious, and not to mention, the whole child abuse thing, growing up and, having to live that double life where she presents totally, she's a grumpy barkeeper scowling even at the regulars. But then, the door closes, she drops the facade, and it's like you get the, she just starts scrambling and fretting, and it's like, oh, hey, I don't know. I thought that was good.
Okay.
Yeah.
You like his shorter stuff.
I do. I mean, I just...
I want to dig a little deeper. I love, like, Stormlight Archive. Let's just dig in deep.
Well, that's where we're going to read that next.
Let's take like 5,000 pages to tell a story. Let's do it.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, we're going to read next. I think that's going to be our next read, right? Is going to be The Way of Kings. You'll get that. I don't know. Like, I could talk about all sorts of stuff, tangentially, on the same topics as Silence for a while. Like, there was a trope in this, that I don't read too much, like, frontier fiction, right? Where, where you're living on, away from civilization, and and any influence from civilization, it's one of those tropes that just like, yeah, government's, corrupt and inefficient, and if you're in a frontier kind of environment, the government's going to be the bad guy, right? And I just, how did you feel about that? Like, does that
how did I feel about the government?
Yeah, or how do you feel about the trope, I guess? No, we can cut this.
I didn't think it was as strong as what you seem to think it was.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. I like I said, I definitely read a lot.
I think it was a useful mechanism to just pinpoint the fact that she's out on her own and she has to use her own gumption and resources to figure shit out.
That's fair. Yeah.
And do it in a way that feels authentic.
Yeah. No, that's fair. It is it's a useful trope, I guess. I don't know. I see it, it's the same thing comes up in Firefly or in Fallout New Vegas, as well as like I think I mentioned last episode about that Ronald Reagan quote about 9 scariest words are "I'm from the government, I'm here to help," right? But like
I don't remember you saying that.
Oh really? Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, no, that was an old Ronald Reagan quote when he was running for president. 9 scariest words you can hear from "I'm from the government, I'm here to help." And I don't know, like personally, like I've spent so much of my professional career as like a bureaucrat, right? And like I feel like that trope is both overused and
so accurate.
I was gonna say propaganda.
Anti-propaganda?
No, it's definitely it can be both, right?
The trope that the government is unhelpful?
Yes. Right, because
is propaganda.
Yes. I mean, that's literally been on NPR lately about how there's this narrative that FEMA is out to get you, right? It resulted in people harassing people who were trying to provide them aid for hurricane assistance, right?
Okay.
And it's and it's a message for people who are running against incumbents that they can say, aha, the government is so corrupt and inefficient, you need me to go in and fix it.
Okay, so not propaganda for the government, but propaganda for politicians.
Yeah, it's political messaging that has no basis in reality that is meant to...
Okay, maybe I just don't know the definition of propaganda.
I mean,
then.
or maybe we're just using it differently.
Push.
I'm just saying it's like, it's being taken to an extreme that is divorced from reality in reality, right? Right, where people are attacking people who are trying to help them because they think that they're the bad guys, right?
Uh-huh.
And that it sort of ignores all of the things that governments have done for our people. Like we only have plumbing in our house because sewage systems were put in place to a code that was set.
Okay, so if we take a break here, if we take a break here,
highway systems. And freaking rockets putting people on the news, on the moon. Like, I mean, I get it, right? Like,
okay. So
skepticism is healthy, but I'm just saying, right now, there's a lot of conspiracy theories that take things way too far.
So you are upset that the other side of government was not represented in this story. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not. That's my reaction to the trope, right? Like, I'm not upset about it. I'm not upset. I don't know why would you say I'm upset about it? I don't know. Where I guess I just like how I get upset whenever, in the same way that I get upset whenever there's a character named Nick who's a bad guy, right? Like it's not a flaw with the book, but it's just something that's not for me about the book, right? Not everything needs to be for me.
Okay. So, what did you like about the book?
Like I said, I loved Silence as a protagonist. I thought the way the book the way the short story handles child abuse and the way you think about it as an adult, as a parent trying to not do the same things to your kids. I thought that was very nuanced, complex, but also like captures the nuances and complexities of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's a really good short story.
Yeah.
I just wanted more. It left me wanting more.
Yeah.
I wanted more detail.
And that's better than overstaying its welcome, in my opinion. So.
That's true.
All right. You want to talk like housekeeping for the podcast that we run? Like,
sure.
Yeah, like we're trying. I don't actually know if this is going to be published, but we have, we're working on adding video to our podcast. Thanks, bear with us.
We have an Instagram account. Cosmere Casual.
Yeah. We're still on Reddit. We still, all that good stuff. We're trying to publish on YouTube too. We've got to, working through uploading our backlog of things that don't have video and, adding in things like.
Well, by the time this airs, it should be up there.
Yeah, maybe. I got to click the button and wait a lot of times. So it might be, it might not. There is going to be I'll say, we're going to have an inconsistent recording schedule as we go into the holiday season, but we're still going to publish episodes every 2 weeks, right? It should be transparent on your end, listener.
So I'm so glad that we told them that.
That's fine. And then, our next book we're going to read is going to be The Way of Kings. And then I think after that, did we decide we were going to go?
No, I guess the reason why we were working ahead so much is so that we have some time to read the fifth book.
Yes.
Of Stormlight.
Yes.
The first arc.
Yep. Yeah. But
we also have an email.
Yeah.
Cosmerecasual
cosmerecasual@gmail.com. Please send us any questions, comments, feedback of the non-audio kind. And hey, thanks for podcasting with me, dear.
Thanks for podcasting with me.
And thanks, listeners, for listening to our podcast. Our music is licensed through the Tribe of Noise. The song is Odyssey, and the artist is Ketsa.
And until next time, keep your wits about you.